Hey everyone, this is Matt Stewart, aka Stewie, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Storytime with Stewie. This will be episode 2, and so for this one, it's going to be a double episode. So I'm going to cover two topics. First of all, I want to apologize for I said it that I was going to post another episode on Sunday. Uh, it's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy month. And so since I'm doing it kind of late, I just wanted to put in two episodes for you guys, if you don't mind. So I put up a poll last week and to see what people would like to hear. And so some of the suggestions were earthquakes in Nazca, midnight subway run, road trip for barbecue, midnight splunking, and or maybe there wasn't. Anyway, so what you guys need to know is most of these stories um, involve a guy named Nick Ellison, one of my best buddies. When I was at Southeastern Bible College, um, he claims that he was the one that got me out of my shell, but there were a couple that I give credit to, a couple of guys that did that. It was him and another friend of mine, David Murray. David, if you're watching this, man, I give you credit too. Don't worry about it. Me and David go way back to Milo's and Trustful. I worked there when I was in college. So yeah, between those two, they are who got me out of my shell. But anyway, I'm going to cover two stories because it happened. Um, so this happened in the spring break of 2011, right before I graduated. And so these two stories, it was one night to the next day. So I'm going to start with the midnight subway run. So one night, me and Nick Ellison. Um, by the way, Nick Ellison, with some stories I have of him, it's you would think it's folklore. He he was over so many pranks and stuff like that. He's got some stories of pranks on his family that I could not share here. Um, I would completely leave that to him. Um, but anyway, he with some of the stories I could tell about him, it would be like folklore. He's one of my buddies. Um, and so there was so the week of spring break 2011, me and Nick Ellison were, he was driving us around one night, and he said to me, there's a 24-hour subway just across the Georgia line if you want to go. By that point, it's about 7 or 8 at night, and so I said, sure, why not? Because classes were up, we had already got our work done, everything else, had that free time, and so we did. We packed up the car, headed across the Georgia line to the midnight subway, subway that was open 24 hours. I could I can maybe still find it. I don't know. I don't really know. But anyway, I just know it was across the state line, and so we did. We drove all the way like through Gadsden, through like that interstate, going past Fort Payne, all that. And so I think it was in a Love's truck stop or something like that. But I just remember we got there, and by this point, it was like 11:30 or midnight, and we could tell right away that the lady at the counter of the subway was not happy. She was not happy to see some college age guys, coming in, um, you know, that, late at night or early in the morning. So we did. We got our food, and I just can remember sitting at the table with him, and him going, "I can't believe this." I was like, "What?" We're sitting at a subway at 12 in the at 12 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, yeah, we are. We got a laugh out of that. And so we got back on the road, heading back towards Birmingham. And so along the way, I fell asleep. Now, keep in mind, with me, people have a thing of liking to play pranks on me when I'm asleep. So he's driving and I'm out. So he along the way at some point he gets behind this 18 wheeler and he has the bright idea to pull something. So he gets like pretty close to the end of it. And I'm out. And so the next thing that I remember, he's bracing with his arm and he's like, ah! He's that close to the back of this thing. And so I wake out of my sleep and we're that close to this truck. And I'm just like, so he did. He got a good laugh out of that. So that's Nick Ellison for you. So anyway, we get back and the next morning we leave, get on the road. He gets his normal, Mountain Dew because he always had one on hand. Probably still does at this very moment. So we get in this car. I forgot the name of her. Nick, if you see this, go ahead and give a shout out what her name was. I don't remember. So anyway, we get on the road from Memphis. And one of the things I remember too is we're traveling through Corinth, Alabama, and joking around, calling them to repent. If you get the biblical reference, you get it. Anyway, Bible nerd here. So we we make it to Memphis, and we stop at this rest area. And so the lady, at the counter, what are y'all doing in Memphis? Well, we came here to, get some barbecue. Lady at the counter's like, where y'all from? Birmingham. You came all the way, drove all the way to Memphis from Birmingham to get barbecue. Yeah. All right then. So we got back on the road, and so we stopped by a place called Jim Neely's Interstate Barbecue. Standard fare in Memphis, has a solid reputation like out that way. If any of you know of any good barbecue places in Memphis, tell me also because I've heard about how good Memphis barbecue is. I've had it for myself. I like a vinegar-based sauce myself. That's what Memphis specializes in. So we did. We stopped by Jim Dealey's Interstate Barbecue. Ate outside. It was really good to me. Um, and so anyway, and then just for giggles, we crossed over into the Arkansas line because it wasn't that far. Wasn't nothing there from what we could see, so we crossed right back over and drove back to Birmingham. And so yeah, that's the story of the midnight subway run and the road trip for barbecue. Now also, Nick Ellison's involved in the story of Midnight Splunking. That is one that you guys are going to want to hear for sure. And I'm sure he's going to take issue with how I tell it because he's always been aggravated by the way that I told that story because he thinks that I paint it too much in a positive light for myself. So anyway, might get him in on that. Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and tune in next time. Come back around. I just never know when, and I'll have another story for you guys. Y'all have a good one. Share some stories of your own. Get them out there. Peace.